Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Birch, and welcome to my personal artist talk, where I'm going to be discussing my senior show, Stasis. So, a little bit about myself before we really begin. I'm from a small town called Harmony in Minnesota, and I have two majors. First one being eye design, next one being computer science. And these two unique skill sets, when combined, they lead to interesting outcomes. And especially during this project, even though I'm used to making digital things like 2D, 3D works and programming, it really helped in the conceptual and actually physical creation stage, even though you might not expect it. So, getting into the actual project, in the beginning of the semester, we met as a class and we were tasked with coming up with groups and creating group themes. And my group eventually came up with the idea of visceral, which is all about the intense, deep emotions and feelings that we had during 2020. And we wanted to shed light on those feelings and create a positive spin and maybe enact positive change towards those terrible feelings that we might have had. So the next step is that we needed to create personal projects and personal concepts that would relate to the overarching concept, but also have its own unique spin, its own unique branch, and that would be personal for the artist. So that's exactly what I did. I looked back at my experience in 2020 and I thought about all of the emotions that I had, things that I did, things that I wanted to do but couldn't do. And I ended up thinking about my struggle with being in quarantine for the first time. And I'm sure this is something that I can relate to a bunch of people with. I ended up over consuming on social media so much because I wasn't seeing my family a lot, I wasn't seeing my friends. So I felt like I needed to be on social media all the time to, you know, always be seeing what was new with them, what was going on. So I'd never miss out. And it ended up creating a lot of wasted time for me, a lot of negative comparison. You know, I'd see what other people are doing versus what I'm doing, and I'd feel bad about it. I'd look at other people's portfolios versus my own because I wasn't being productive because I was online all the time. And it just ended up giving me a lot of poor mental health problems. It just was not great for me. So, you know, recognizing that I knew this is what I wanted to make my show about, is addressing the struggle that I had, and maybe I could put a positive spin on it for other people. And on a separate note, because this was a physical outdoor installation, I knew I really couldn't do something digital with ease. So I wanted to focus on the other side of my skill set, which is interactivity. My first concept was a bit harsh and it didn't really apply, but it was a great starting point. The main idea was that I was trying to show how social media was bad for you. And like I said, this is a harsh take. It's not exactly easy to do without coming across as rude for the people who do like social media. And myself, I do like social media. I was just so consumed with the idea that it can have negative side effects that this was just my first take at it. So it was all about showing how the endless cycle happens. You know, like you create media just to consume it and then it never ends. But eventually this was scrapped and I evolved it into the second idea. This one is a little bit better. It was a little bit more introspective for the viewer. They would walk up and they would look into an empty black screen, maybe a little bit broken, and that would be a metaphor for how being offline is good because you would see your real self in the reflection of an off screen. And even though it's a cool metaphor, it didn't really have much else to it. It was just that. And, you know, there was a QR code that would take you through an online experience, kind of explaining that if you didn't get it just from looking at the reflection. But all in all, it ended up not being the idea that I wanted to continue with. So I kept evolving this and it grew into my third idea. And this one is a bit more structured, and it actually brought in the element of interactivity a bit more, which I really liked. This idea was all about making choices. So the user would come up to these two cubes on pedestals, and they would have a certain number of tokens, let's say five. And they would have to distribute these tokens into the two cubes. They would have to choose how to divvy it up, one representing social media, the other one representing your real life. And the idea was that over time, you would be able to see the community's decisions and the community's values. And although this is an interesting concept, it didn't really relate to the visceral theme or also the message that I was trying to get across. I was straying farther and farther away from that. So once again, I decided this really wasn't what I was going for, and I kept working on it. And eventually that brought me to my final concept, which is finding a healthy balance between social media and your real life. So the idea, I got inspiration from, when you're on trails and walks, you find people who stack stones. It's that same concept, but this time it would be with boxes. So they would come up to my installation and there'd be an assortment of boxes and you would have to stack them. And maybe that would cause, some internal reflection. So once I had that idea that I really liked and I thought could really work and have potential, I started making these boxes. Half of the boxes were going to represent your real life, and they're going to be made out of a walnut wood that really looks natural. And the other half was going to represent social media and be made out of a pressed sawdust board that looks more artificial. And I decided to create these boxes in irregular geometric shapes, so it wasn't super easy to stack, and it also looked more visually appealing. And also on the walnut pieces, there would be engravings of words that represent real life. So things like your career or your family, social life, that kind of thing. And on the artificial ones, they would have social media icons with patterns in them, spray painted on there. And I engraved stencils to create that. So it's a bit more artificial, and engraving is more real life, tangible. Some struggles that I had while making this was obviously woodworking. I like making digital things, at least that's what I'm used to. The last woodworking project I did was in ninth grade, a long time ago. Although it was a lot of fun exploring something new, it was hard to create a physical piece when you do not have a lot of physical craftsman skills. So that was just an interesting development that I didn't really think of when I thought of the concept. Another one is time management. I think everyone in our class knew that they should have started creating things earlier, myself included. Um, and even showing up maybe at noon one day, you would think, oh, I'll be gone by 3. No, you would be there till 9 at night working on something. So that's one thing I noticed, is that I always needed to allocate more time. Things that I learned from those struggles is that I developed a newfound respect for woodworking. It's insanely difficult when you actually get down to it. Making a box is one thing, but making that box look good and also irregularly shaped so you can't use 90 degrees, whole nother challenge. And physical creation is a lot different than digital creation. Writing a program and creating these boxes, opposite sides of the creation spectrum. But I really enjoyed the exploration and it was a lot of fun. And all of those struggles and lessons that I learned helped me come up and create with this final installation. So on the left side, you can see those final boxes. You can see the natural and the artificial sides to them. And it's really cool over time to see the stacks that people make with them. And on the top left, you can see that white structure there with the poster. That poster has my artist statement on it, so people would go up and read that, and they would also read the instructions, where it would tell them to find a balance between the boxes, and then take a step back, reflect, and then take a photo of it. And then they would scan the QR code that's on that poster, and go to my website, where there's a tool to upload it to the website. And the idea is that at the end of the show, I'm going to go to the website, gather all of the submitted photos that people uploaded over time, and present them on the website so that people can see all of them, all the stacks that people made. And then if you took a personal art card or one of the tokens that you can see on the right-hand side, you will be able to go back to that website after the show's over and always be able to see those images. And I wanted to create a constant reminder like that, because it's really easy to forget about the message after you leave the site or you finish watching this video. So I wanted to have a piece that people can take with you, and a thing that you can go to always to be reminded to find that balance, sustain that balance, keep it healthy, because it's going to help your mental health in the long run. And that is it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. and enjoyed the show if you actually went to it. I had a lot of fun creating the concepts for it, spending all the time in the lab, making those boxes, polishing them up, making it a cohesive structure. It was a lot of fun. I'm very proud of it. And of course, if you have any questions for me, my information's on the screen. Just take a screenshot, hit me up. I'd love to chat with you guys about it. So once again, thank you for listening.